Hello and welcome to the Dead Air Dudes. I'm Izzy.
I'm Rocka. Thank you all loyal fans of the podcast, the YouTube channel, the TikTok, everything Dead Air Dudes. This weekend, actually, in New York City is AnimeCon, the biggest anime convention in New York City. It's happening Jacob Javits as we speak.
As
And the
we speak,
heels of AnimeCon, let's reel into the number one search, at least stream search anime right now, which is on Netflix, the cult classic verse, Scott Pilgrim verse, Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. With all things Scott Pilgrim in the whole universe, we are now segueing to Izzy, our resident expert. Izzy, take it away.
all right. Well, first of all, expert, take it with a grain of salt. I am a big fan. I do have a Ramona Flowers tattoo. Well, you can't really see it, but right there.
Wow, so I think that says it all.
I'm a huge fan of the books as well as the video game, as well as the movie, and now we have the animated series. First of all, for everyone, it's obviously aimed for adults. It has adult content in the animated I guess anime. It's run anime style. It's done by a popular company, which I'm gonna probably mess it up now, but geez, I forgot the name, but suffice to say that yeah, they're geez, something no, that's gonna mess me up, but anyway, doesn't matter. All right. So for all you guys and gals who saw the movie Scott Pilgrim versus the World, we all know the story. Scott Pilgrim is a bass player in Toronto. He's kind of a slacker, kind of a he's 23 years old. Who he is just recently back in the dating world. He's dating a high schooler. Knives Chow happens to be 17 years old. Now he meets this girl literally in his dreams, Ramona Flowers, who's an American who moved to Toronto, and she has 7 exes. Okay, now somehow it gets
Evil exes.
yes, we come to find out that she has 7 evil exes. Keywords are exes, not ex-boyfriends, exes. In which Scott, who happens to be a phenomenal fighter, best in his province, as has been told many a time, he has to go and defeat them for basically, for Ramona, and then they live happily ever after. But that's in the movie, and in the graphic novels, the comics, it's a very similar story. I would say it's pretty much not exact,
Canon.
but it's yeah. Now, this series, if you don't know, you just go in assuming it's just the animated version or an anime version of the movie, you're kind of sort of mistaken. Okay. It's kind of a little clickbaity at first, to be honest. It goes to the same machinations, the same storyline, how Scott meets Ramona, with little updates here and there. And when the beginning of the first fight, everything changes. Okay. And then you get, which for many people, I've seen some negative reviews on the show. They clearly didn't watch the whole thing. They clearly have an agenda as far as the nexification of the series as like Masters of the Universe. So they obviously had a problem with the storyline shifting from Scott to Ramona. Now, Rocka has some stuff to say. Take it.
Okay, so yeah, first of all, I not as in depth as you, but I have watched the other versions and stuff. I took it as alternate version, and and because it's a series versus the movie, they got to explore deeper, maybe to uncover things like backstories of the exes and everything that you can't really do in the movie in depth.
Right.
So I did appreciate that. Yes. Okay, this is one thing that you have mentioned, and it's not black and white. Many in the past have described Scott as a beta male, as opposed to an alpha male. He's more passive, but when push comes to shove, because he doesn't exude, muscle bound
Right.
physique, or he's not, the alpha male, your typical caveman type. He's more cerebral and more emotional, you know.
Right.
But I'm not sure about the term.
No.
But going past that,
Yeah.
term, yes, it is true. You can almost retitle this Ramona Takes Off. But he takes off, as you write, probably a clickbait to get you in. But it's an occult classic. It's a subgenre of a very dedicated fan base, right? I was the reverse. I saw the movie first, and then I went back and I read some of the comics. I did some of the backlore, and I read a little bit about the gameplay. I haven't played the game, but there's a lure to it because it's almost like the everyday guy. No one's built like He-Man all the time. And of course, even though it's still set, right? She's a delivery girl for Netflix videos, which is hysterical. Because that takes you back more than a decade when you had Netflix delivery. In person, I have no idea. That must be a Canadian thing. But it's funny and it's witty. It is charming.
In the day, originally Netflix started out as a subscription service in which they sent to you the DVD.
Right. Yeah, for all those that are new to this age and don't remember anything non-digital, you actually got a physical DVD in the mail.
Funny that's mentioned is I do believe about a month ago Netflix finally
stopped.
They finally stopped it, and basically they said, you know what, whatever DVDs you have, you're welcome, keep them, because we're ending the subscription service. So
where the series thrives, in my opinion, is that it does revisit in depth. Each act's not, like you said, it's not made for kids. They explore sexuality. They explore nuances of being young and making mistakes and going through. I hate to term it that way, but going through different relationships, you do make mistakes,
right,
as you mature. And in that sense, since we're already breaking all the spoilers, as you go towards the end of the series, you get to them when they're older.
Yeah. So, but let me just, obviously, we already mentioned a couple spoilers. I guess we're probably going to go.
Well, let's go full tilt.
We're going to go full spoilers here. So, if you have not, if you're already kind of on the fence, watch it.
Pause us, put us on the shelf for when it's over.
I mean, the episode's about 24 to 28 minutes, give or take. 4 hours, and you'll be done.
It's a great quick watch.
Yes, I mean, 4 hours, but no, it goes by, and the animated style is very good. So yeah. So full spoilers, get ready.
By the way, yes, it is signed Saru.
There you go. Yes, signed Saru. There, thank you. I was going freaking nuts here. What the show did do was it pretty much, I want to say completely, but it, I guess, fixed all the wrongs with the source material. Not that there were many, but in particular with Scott, and in particular with Ramona's character, which some might say, at least since the books came out, I mean, don't quote me, but I'd say
4?
Yeah, there you go. Freaking almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So obviously it's generational, and Brian Lee O'Malley, the writer, obviously I do believe he's Gen X. So obviously from his perspective, when he wrote it, you have other generations reading it, and you're like, wait a second, this kind of is a bit off, whatever. This series kind of fixes that. Like when people say, damn, Scott's a dick. Yeah, he kind of was. He kind of was.
First of all, he was dating a 17-year-old.
Yeah, and
he basically met Ramona, sparks fly, and he cheated on her.
Which, by the way, it's Canada, so two. I mean, even though it's.
Wait, we have a good number of affiliate fans that tune in from Canada.
No, I don't mean in a bad way. I'm saying this. I guess the age difference is obviously frowned upon, which they make quite a number of jokes upon it. Even in the book, and even more so in the series, we talk about
the series pokes fun of itself, which I can appreciate.
Which we're gonna say that nothing happened. They might have kissed once.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Right. But in the sense of just relationship, and I get it. 20 years have passed. There's a lot of progress in thought, in in inclusion,
Yes,
and so from that point of view, I appreciate where the angle was. And also, if you look at it for what it was, I can appreciate too. It's a guy trying to date a girl, and you have to literally fight her past. But he has a past, and
exactly.
she is not like, I hate to say this, but she is not to be painted as some easy floozy that goes around and just, she explored her sexuality, her life, her relationship too. So to go into depth was good in the sense that you don't paint this very narrow-minded view of her.
Exactly. Ramona is probably the epitome of a character who's been always put up on that pedestal to be that quirky, cool, different colored, hair
Out of
girl.
my league type girl.
Yeah, who will fix my whole life, which is wrong. To put a person in that because
To put anybody in that.
and that's why Scott has his own demons, while Ramona has her issues with relationships and how she left them and how she ended them. He also isn't the prime example of the perfect boyfriend, perfect relationship material, and it digs deep into that,
Yes.
you know.
Oh yes.
And I appreciate
In an unexpected twist, I would have to admit, I didn't see that coming.
that.
Most of
I
the episodes,
appreciate
I
that. I
didn't see
mean,
anything coming.
Ramona is not the typical damsel in distress. She actually she is basically is the show about her. I mean, even though it centers around Scott, she's in every scene, she's in every, and she kicks ass, so kudos.
Metaphorically, she's forced to face her demons of the past
Right.
in detail. I mean, as much as it probably is gut wrenching and very, very awkward, she goes through this journey, and we go through it too. And you see everything, which is, they incorporate the anime, the gameplay, fighting, the coins, the music soundtrack is phenomenal. It really gets you hyped up, and there really isn't a dull moment or turn. The dialogue is great, and for all those dedicated fans out there, they brought back the entire voice cast.
Yeah, everyone is back. I mean, I guess if there's one, I guess not bad thing, but there are certain characters that because of the changes within the animated series, they don't have as big a role in this one, as they had in the movie and or the comic. Namely, one, Envy Adams. Her role is reduced greatly from being just a side player or a side character, as opposed to being how they kind of made her the focal point of Scott's past, bullshit, and as well
Yeah,
as
because she blew up to be a big thing.
I mean, and this is a spoiler. I mean, I was getting Graves being the
Oh,
main
that
villain,
was my biggest issue.
that they kind of completely neutered that character.
Is that canon?
No, well, this is meant from this is from unofficial. This is meant to be a sequel to the comics. Okay, essentially, it's sort of a sequel, and it's a new plot. I was
Right, like an alternate universe.
on that. Well, they mentioned the comic timeline, which is kind of, and one of the Scotts is actually the Scott from the comics. Yeah, I guess you have to see it to really, and I don't want to completely spoil everything, but yes, there's time travel involved, and it gets wacky without it being over the top. I mean,
It's not
really,
a complete mind
yeah,
humping.
yeah, no, it's not meant to, the space time continuum. No, it's all very loose, and as far as that's concerned, But
But in its own little realm, it keeps contiguous.
yes, I mean, you have the Katianagi twins who have a pivotal role in this.
There's a robot
There's a
that
robot.
plays
The
a
robot is from the games. If you guys have not played the game, then you're like, where the robot come from? The robot is the creation of the
I
cartoon,
asked that question myself, like, where the hell did this
and he plays a pivotal role in the game. With the game is actually pretty damn awesome. It's a side scroll beat 'em up, kind of like how Double Dragon was back in the day, and you get to play the different characters, and pretty cool. I mean, I do believe it might still be on PlayStation, or Xbox. So check it out. I think it might be on Nintendo also, but in their store. But check it out. And you also have a huge role for Matthew Patel. So I'm gonna say this.
But that isn't that one of the lures too. This is that in a clever way, this series gave the X's a voice.
No, I mean Patel in particular. Patel, Roxy had a good
Lucas Lee,
Lucas Lee, and even Todd, V.
right? See, they weren't flat
No,
characters anymore.
no, they
And
weren't. But
they had depth to it.
I would have liked for them to freaking really, you know, I don't like the fact that what they did to Envy's character. Not what they did to her, but as far as they kind of neutered that whole storyline, which is fine. I mean, you can't give everybody the
No, and if you're making an alternate version of things, even if it's a sequel, you do have to make some drastic changes.
yeah. And then,
Otherwise, you're redoing. What's the point? You're redoing
well, of course, and you completely
all of it.
I mean, and the Kendrick's character, of Stacy Pilgrim, which she had a bit role, but now she's reduced to, I think she might have 7 lines in the whole series. She shows up in 2 episodes, like hiding under the coffee thing, and But I mean, you can't have them all.
His roommate Wallace Wells is hysterical.
Wallace is arguably the best character in the whole series, in the whole Scott Pilgrim universe.
It's not like he needed comic relief in this series, but he did provide pretty good comic relief.
I mean, he's freaking great. I mean, so
So let me ask you,
yeah.
considering this is an alternate thing, considering there is some expansion and exploration into a different mindset of plot, characters, and whatnot. As a whole, did you find it satisfying, or more than satisfying, or less?
Okay, see, and I'm gonna be honest, as I'm watching the series as a fan of the books and everything. At first, I didn't like the changes, but then as the episodes progressed and I thought about it, and it got deeper into the lore and what they were trying to accomplish and do, and I'm like, you know what? It actually makes sense, and I enjoyed it, and I actually really, really liked the series. It ended up going. I give it an 8. I give it an 8 out of 10. It was very well done, and
It worked.
and it was satisfying. And there is a not like an end credit scene, but kind of like a mid credit scene, whatever. And if it were to continue, I would be pleasantly surprised and happy, you know. But because they don't even open ended, but they kind of give you a little something that may or may not happen.
Oh, I'm for sure. I think it's going to be greenlit because, again, like I said, it's the number one trending.
You know,
it it brings a lot to the table. Like the anime is fantastic. The soundtrack, like you mentioned, was fantastic. The storyline is refreshing because this is a difficult thing to do. You have a set, huge dedicated fan base to a cult classic that you are attempting something different. Yes, it's an update. Yes, it's modernized. Yes, an expansion of the universe. They could have gone very much left here, but I think because they brought back the same voices and there's enough Easter eggs, and relations and references to what we all knew and liked, that a new generation could be sucked into it, and the old ones like us, ha ha ha, appreciate it.
oh,
So they're kind of doubling their fan base, reimagining. I give them a lot of credit because to me it does work, and it works well to the point that I really enjoyed. I was almost a little upset that it was too quick each episode, and that it was done in what, 8, 9?
8 episodes, yeah.
8 episodes. That it was done rather quick. Like, damn, I've
Look,
been just in a day.
the O'Malley was always very cognizant and aware of not doing too much, of not going too far. And many times over the years, he said that he did not want to do a sequel because there's basically no more, not much of a story to tell. That's it. I mean, and you take that risk if the guy gets the girl and the girl gets the guy. That's it. What else is there to say? I mean, if you
Can I
progress,
ask you? Can I ask you this question to
yeah,
bring
yeah.
you back a step?
Mm.
How did you find the live action movie in relation to? I know you did way back when, the early days of Dead Dudes. You did a nice little just to revisit it on this podcast
Mm.
quickly. How did you feel about how that rendition was in relation to that point? The the series, the books, and everything was. How
No,
did you feel?
the movie was very similar to the books. I mean, you had a couple of things here and there, but
It was more of a straight line plot.
it was oh yeah, it was probably I don't want to say 100% exactly like it, but it was a lot. It was very similar. I mean, down to certain scenes were taken straight out of the graphic novel. You
Because
know,
I loved it. I thought it was an instant hit. I thought it had so much for everybody who has the same kind of common thought into a cult movie like that, where it deals with a lot of our insecurities, and it deals with but you throw in there a fantastic gameplay,
right?
script, dialogue, and the actors really brought it in together. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better cast. That thing was a phenomenal a piece of casting where
Yeah,
they
I
put
mean,
the right people at the right places.
I regret. I mean, not me, but I mean, it's a shame that the studio did not give enough attention or didn't have enough faith in Edgar Wright's vision and Brian O'Malley's vision and the actors and everything else, not to give it a wide theatrical release. Okay, I do believe it was an approximately half of what a regular blockbuster is. So it was, matter of fact, I saw it in the old theater by your old house, well, Kew Gardens, and they were like, it was like, well, my sister, and there were like 10 people in the theater, and they probably looked at the film and said, "What the hell is going on?" Because that movie was, as the story was at the time, was way ahead of its time. If it would have come out now, people would eat it up, you know.
The key to these movies, even though they're source material and everything, is that it's bringing to a wider net, right? It's bringing to an viewing audience that not really would be into a book like this, a comic book, a manga series, but it brings in because of the star power and because it's in the theater and now everybody's accessible. It brings with it like a Breakfast Club, like a Napoleon Dynamite, like it brings into a commonality we could all share, but in a vision that makes it spectacular, memorable. I mean, how many people quote it? How many people even today would still cosplay as or dress up? If this movie had just, if the series had just come out before Halloween, I think possibly me and PBJ could have gone as the twins. That I mean, I don't know how people would like it. I really don't care, but it
That would have been cool, and
that would rock.
and then you make like a little robot. That's just,
You could have been. I think you could have easily been Bruce, not Bruce, Lucas Lee. Easy. I mean, you could dress up as Gideon if you wanted to, or and I know a couple people who would fit in as Scott himself. They're not really big cosplay people, like perfect with this.
but
You know what I'm talking about, and stuff like that. Hell, a group of us could have gone to Comic Con or Anime Con as the entire Scott Pilgrim cast, and that would rock as well.
that would have been absolutely freaking great. That would have been, but
So, any last thoughts, ideas, shares? You have filled us in amicably. Uh, this has been a fantastic series. I do myself give it an 8.5 out of 10. It
I
was
mean,
that enjoyable.
you can. This has been a story, a comic, whatever that has been that you've gone so far with you went original anime. It was an original, anime inspired graphic novel in black and white. Then you go and you make the movie. Boom. And you go, you make the video game. Boom. You go back and you colorize the original series. Boom. You leave those snippets of animation and little backstories that weren't in the movie, which you can go back and see about another one of which they mentioned that the Kim Pine story when Scott dated her. They had that whole, you can watch it on YouTube. They have a whole animated short about it. There's another short about another one of Scott's exes, Lisa. You can go back and you can see all this stuff, and all that is from one story. And now
Scott Pilgrim verse.
Scott Pilgrim verse. You have toys. You have, which by the time
that's hot. That is hot.
By Mary Leather Winstead. I have, so I have figures and I have, which I should have had them on hand to show. But yeah, and if we get a season 2, that would even be even better. But watch the series. Have patience if you're a fan and it strays from the source material to watch the whole thing, and then
open your mind, because the real genius behind this is that the real genius behind this is that it's such an awkward topic. When you date somebody, you do date their exes, like it or not.
Yeah.
And you have to show your exes. I mean, it's to make it into such a thing that is enjoyable is absolutely genius.
Everybody brings their baggage into relationships.
Yeah, this is life.
And obviously, it's a cartoon, it's a story, whatever. So everything is set within.
It's fun, man.
It's set within days as opposed to weeks or months or years, obviously, except for certain parts. I mean, but it's fantastical yet grounded in real life. The story.
And it's okay to make mistakes and have a past.
Especially nowadays, man. I mean, hey.
It's okay, guys. And what it is,
date, anything. So
and it puts into perspective. You do have the past, the future, that's another thing altogether, but you have the now.
Exactly.
So Scott learns it, Ramona learns it, everybody in all the characters learn it. After it's all said and done, take a breath. Do you want this happening now? And just like a video game, man, you could die a few times, but you come back.
And if the juice is worth a squeeze, then it is. That's it.
Squeeze away, baby.
All right. With that, please check it out. Let us know what you guys think. Give us your opinions, your comments, and everything on this. And we will probably do if you guys want, we'll do an in-depth comparison from the comics to the game. We kind of did here, but we can go a little more in.
Kind of did.
If you guys really,
Yeah, we'll give a shout out, because when Izzy did this a while back, we had a lot of good feedback that we should be doing more of these things. We did a similar thing with The Strain and that series, and we do a lot. And again, we are the Deader Dudes. We investigate all things geekdom. We live it, we embrace it, we love it, we enjoy it, and also be on the lookout for a lot of our retro reviews for some classic movies, because everybody's doing remakes now. That's because they love the original.
Exactly. I'm Izzy.
I'm Rocka. Remember, be safe, enjoy, con away, and always, always save the whales.
Take care, guys.